Hello, everyone. I'm back. It's me, Anissa Sutton, founder of Standout magazine. And today I am with the beautiful Edie Hand. Hi, Edie.
Hey, so good to be here.
Thank you. She came all the way from Alabama.
That is,
Alabama.
we say in the South, LA to LA, which is lower Alabama to Los Angeles. See? LA, Lake Leon.
Yes, LA, glamorous, and Los Angeles. She's here. She's all beautiful. Do you remember? She was on the cover of Popular Magazine, Special Mother's Day. And tell them, how did we get to meet each other, and why did I put you on Mother's Day?
Okay.
Whose mother are you? How did we connect?
Praise the Lord, have Mother Earth before, but I'm not the Mother Earth. I am Link Hand's mother, and my son is a working actor that has been here in Los Angeles for over 20 years. And not only is Link a working actor of what he does, but, when he first started and was young, he was the opening act for Jimmy Kimmel Live, which is a big deal, I think. And, of course, these kids, that he's been able to maintain that friendship and that relationship through these 20 years. And Link is, been a part of NCIS Hawaii. He did the film 42. He played a baseball pitcher. He's done, I think,
with Harrison Ford.
Yeah, with Harrison Ford. It's over 60 films he's been a part of. I'm very proud of Link. It's a lot of hard work, and we also met because of my daughter-in-law, his wife, Victoria Renée.
The things connected.
Yes, and the music, and with your husband, Michael, and his historical work. And, to me, our jazz and blues are the heart and soul, of music that turns into rock and roll. And
rock and roll.
It's true. And Victoria, she is beautiful, but she has an exceptional voice.
Yes, she's a great vocalist. Her song has been featured on CNN,
Yes.
A Better Tomorrow. And we should really check it out, listen to it, A Better Tomorrow. And you wrote the song with Victoria, right?
Yes, I inspired the song. Her and her couple of other writers penned it, but it was inspired by my book of The Last Christmas Ride, the ride books of what we've done. And I was doing a documentary about the loss of my 3 young brothers, which I had started with understanding what A Woman of True Grit is about, was telling stories of hard things and how you turn them into beautiful situations. Well, Victoria's story is in the book, and you can get the book ebook too. But what I say about it's not just pitching a book. These are really important stories. And I know you'll be asking some questions about that later.
Yes.
But I love that Victoria and her co-writers got it. They read the novels. I have a series of novellas, as we call them, A Soldier's Ride, A Christmas Ride, and The Miracle of the Lights. These are warm stories that come from life's true experiences. And her songs are deep and soulful like that. And she has the voice to carry that off, like a Mariah Carey.
Mariah Carey, Christina Aguilera, Whitney Houston, all the greats.
She does. She has that range. But her beauty. But, she went through the hard things. She watched her sister drown. She didn't speak for over a year and came out singing, that God gave her that gift to sing Little Mermaid. And her parents saw right away there was no singing in that family, and that was a miracle. She was trained by some of the best music artists there is in Nashville, Tennessee, and went on to travel, as you know, and to do wonderful things at a young age. And now here she is at this still young age.
She's still young, very young.
So she started very young, like when she was 12, 13 years old. But I think that that's the beauty of what you're doing with Pump It Up, is discovering new and seasoned people that have done extraordinary things like we do with Women of True Grit is
Pump them up.
yes, if you have to,
Set the stage for them and show them to the world, to the beautiful light, with a beautiful light.
that's right, and you have a beautiful way with a pen to do that.
Thank you.
And you are a very gifted marketer, and no matter what any of us do, writers, producers, songwriters, directors, if we have an idea, it's just an idea unless you can market it. And I spent many years doing that through my own advertising agency. And, it just, it changed me really to see that from different situations in life, to be able to tell one's story, and give voices to people that wouldn't normally have a voice. And just like with Victoria's singing voice, for you and Michael to really open a world for her in a different way at this season of her life warms my heart, because it's like anything else. You can put a lot of time and energy, and, time is money. You have to have the right people to give you the hand up and invest in you to do that. And I think that through your Pump It Up and through my worlds of sisterhood, it takes a small village to make something work.
That is true. And you have, like I said, you don't have to be great to start. You have to start to be great.
That is a great comment. It really is true. You do.
So believe in yourself always. You start small. You start, even if everybody says, oh, you're dreaming. Oh, no, it's never going to happen. But keep it up. Keep walking. You're going to meet wonderful people along the way. And then you're going to shine.
Look, I mean, you're never going to go anywhere if you don't make a plan.
Yeah, you got don't start. You got to start. And you start.
You got to start at the beginning. And if you don't have a cheerleader in your life, be your own cheerleader.
First, be your own cheerleader.
Yeah.
And everybody will be. Yeah, should be listening.
Yeah. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And that's what I see that you do excellent.
Thank you. You do too. Woman of True Grit. That's her book. She shares stories of resilience, perseverance, great women in the world. You're going to get inspired and motivated and pumped up. That's what we hear.
Maybe you want to turn into my cheerleader again. When I was young and in college, I was a cheerleader and yelling for the basketball, football team, baseball, and growing up with 3 young brothers like I did, and raising a son, that I'm glad I was taught how to cheer for these young boys, and little did I know that would continue the rest of my life. Whatever you're passionate about, you are the cheerleader for that, for that particular event, that particular circumstance, and finding that confidence to walk through your fears, agreed? And asking people to do things that don't normally do.
Be bold and don't be afraid. And don't be afraid to be afraid. Yes. And please, what is the opposite of cheerleaders? I call them dream breakers.
That's good. I like it.
Get away from dream breakers, because dream breakers, they will always find something to say to you that is not going to happen.
I tell you,
you don't have the talent. You don't have this. You don't have that.
But you know what I call those?
Dream breakers.
They're demons, too, that can get in your mind.
Yeah, the whispers.
Mess you up in your head. But just remember, every one of you matter.
Yes.
Your life matters. And if you learn anything from what we're all teaming up to try to do, is to give these voices, and especially Victoria Renée's voice and sound, but there are other people within this group that will give bigger voices to either in music or through the word.
Yes.
But it takes first for you to hear it. And I hope that what we're doing today will allow them to be interested enough to go to our websites, go to even look at an ebook, purchase a magazine, or whatever is within a person's budget. You certainly have enough time to go online and read an electronic magazine or an electronic ebook. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can take 30 minutes and skim through something that might just change your life or you might read something into another person's story or in the magazine stories that lets you know that you're not alone.
Exactly.
You read there's some stories that I feel you can find a little piece of yourself in every story, you know, because we all live these multifaceted lives, but not everybody gets to do all these extraordinary things.
And those stories, you categorize them.
Yes.
So they're in categories. So my question is, first of all, which stories stand out the most for you in those categories? So how to know there's different categories? So entertainment, the government,
business,
education. So there's many categories, and we want to let you know. I mean, Edie's going to let you know. She's going to tell you which categories she chose to add in her books for those wonderful women, and which stories stood out.
You know, I love this of what you're doing is that it's just like your story, or mine, is that, first of all, through what we did was I had people to nominate women that they thought had true grit qualities, which our criteria was women that had either persevered in their community through a hard situation and found tools that could help them accomplish what their dream was, how to navigate and get there. And I found that through in the business world, there were a couple of, a mother and a daughter that I was quite impressed with. And Jan White and Mary White. Jan is a marketer in the South, in Alabama to be exact. And her daughter Mary is autistic, and she's had numerous brain surgeries, over 10. I think maybe 20 by now. But the fact that she is so energetic, and I loved interviewing them both, because Mary, she says, my mother is my mentor, but she said, I want to be independent. And I said, well, what does that mean to you? She says, at least I'll have a room downstairs. And I love it that she says, I'm amazing. And she believes in herself because her mother taught her how wonderful she was. She was uniquely different, but her mother believed in her. She actually went on to have her own little television show of teaching how people treated autistic children and young adults, and how she now has graduated from college. That there's a special for special students like her in the college. I believe it was Mississippi State that she went to, and Mississippi, the state, and she went there from Alabama to get there. And the fact that she learned about life skills, you know, how to make her life better, even though her independence is having her own floor, you know, and able to go in and out, is a beautiful thing. That was a sweet story. And in education, I think a lady that has totally impressed me is Beverly Keel. She is the head of entertainment and media at Middle Tennessee State University.
Okay.
We did a big event for Women of True Grit and a panel for some of the women from the book this past March of Women's History Month. And with Beverly being a dean, and we were able to bring from on the back of the book, we had like Kelly Lang, who is a famous country music artist. A lot of you know her songs, and her song, Tennessee, is now for the state of Tennessee. She's singing a theme song. But she had a song that she wrote about her experience of overcoming breast cancer, was I'm Not Going Anywhere. And it was very powerful. She sang it that day, and she's married to the famous country music artist T.G. Shepherd. T.G. hang out with Elvis, and he's from Memphis, Tennessee. So I think, you know, he is her senior, but they blend their voices great together. But for her to be there and sing, we also had, in telling her story of Beverly, is that she allowed students to shine and to be able to produce our event and get it on film. And then we had someone from this book from NASA, this field of science.
NASA.
Yes, we had Sheila Nash Stevenson. She has her PhD, and she is one of the ones that she's a genius in physics and helps to calculate exactly where someone is going to leave in that space rocket and go to the moon and to Mars.
Yes.
And going back now is going to be the first woman, the first person of color, and to be going to the moon and to Mars. Isn't that amazing?
It's great.
She was there. The students were enthralled from medicine. She's certainly an MD doctor, is Dr. Sheila Shadahi, and she had worked at Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee for over 10 years. She, at 15, had to have brain surgery because of a tumor in the brain. She survived it. She woke up. She says, Mama, I'm going to grow up and be a doctor that saves young girls' lives like mine. And she has, and she's doing this, and she's in Houston, Texas now, but she made such a strong impression on me when I met her first many years ago at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And just to see how they fundraise and paying life forward to make a difference. We have the category of entertainment, television, film artist. Well, as you mentioned, CeCe Winans, she certainly is a household name. And what a difference she has made with that wonderful voice. But her and her husband pastor a church in Nashville, Tennessee. I had the privilege to interview her, sit down with her, and she says, my parents were, I'm from Michigan, and they were singers in the church and in the ministry, and I didn't really have a choice, Edie. That was what they told.
That's what they do here in Idaho. I should have read this way.
And she shares her story of going through hard things like a lot of us as mothers that not always have the best communication sometimes with our children until they're ready to communicate with us back as they get older. Life happens with all of us. It's not so. She has a great story of how they overcame differences. I was looking through, Brenda Epperson Moore, who is right here from Los Angeles, lives in Malibu. She has horses. She loves to ride, her and her daughters. They do hunter jumpers.
She has a great voice. That's the singer. Yes.
Beautiful singer.
And
she was on the soaps, a soap star. So you'll want to read her story. And she has strong faith also. I have Sonny Brown, who's a comedian, and working through an alcoholic father that she grew up with and finding her own way to cope with life. We all have stuff at home. It don't mean you're not alone out there. And then, of course, my Victoria Renée Hand that is...
As her Victoria Renée.
Her story is that, piece of it, is that when she was only, I think she was around 5 or 6 years old, but she unfortunately watched her sister drowned. And she did not speak for over a year. You can learn all the details about it in the magazine story of Pump It Up, as well as in this book, Women of True Grit. It's hard for her to talk about it still, but I think she's getting better because music is healing.
Yes.
And don't you agree?
Yes,
and
it's true.
And going through life's experiences that she has grown as an artist, and this is her time now. And the hard thing is facing what was with a reflection to find new tools to get where you need to get today. And I think that's where she is. And entrepreneurs, I tell you, I have Shay Vaughn, who is from Manhattan Beach, California.
California.
Yes, her son, she's famous in her own right, is a health expert. They came from Chicago, Illinois, and her son is Vince Vaughn, who is a famous comedian, movie star.
Movie star. Yes.
A real movie star.
Yes.
And I've had the privilege to be around this family and to see that they are a tight-knit group, and that I celebrated one of my birthdays here, hanging out with her for a few days at Manhattan Beach, and she took me to exercise, and I've been trying to work on getting a little leaner at this season time. I had to crawl almost to get up the steps to get back. There's not an ounce of fat on her body. But I drank a lot of liquid drinks.
That's why that we just water.
Anyway, and another entrepreneur was Tahara Monique Brown. In this book, incredible story of survival.
Mm-hmm.
She and her 2 children were kidnapped for over 2 years. You'll understand she had to, and she was a filmmaker. She was at knife point for 2 hard years before they could escape. Her and her children were exposed to horrific situations. And, mentally, that is a hard thing to have to fight through, even though you get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like she said, Edie, it's taken me 20 years to get to this place. And you still have to find times to meditate.
Yeah.
And if
Just take time to heal.
Yes, and again, there's a lot of beautiful stories in this category. Government, I got to tell you, Brigadier General Wilma Vaught. She was the first woman decorated as a brigadier general. Lives in Washington, D.C. She is just retired after 95 years old.
Wow.
And she started this when I met her, when I did the first book of Woman of True Grit over 20 years ago, with a young lady named Tina Savis. She hosted this event, Brigadier General Wilma Vaught, at the Women's Memorial, and there's over 2.4 million stories of women from around the world that have served our country in one capacity or another, of all branches of the service. And she raised $10 million and got the federal government to match it with another $10 million to do this. That's pretty fascinating. I think the other way of Arlington Cemetery. If you haven't been there, you should. And she sold our books there in her gift shop. Vicki Drummond just was on the Republican. She's the national chairperson that's called out the names of different states when it first started. And she lives in Jasper, Alabama, not far from my neck of the woods where I live. But pretty amazing that someone can be at the head of their parties. We certainly, I've done things in the Democratic Party with our former First Lady, Marsha Folsom, and my former First Lady, who's Republican, Patsy Riley. And we share stories of all walks of those of politics to say that wasn't what they used their platforms to make a difference for women. If it was abused and battered women, or if it was excelling in the arts, the ways to make a difference that could help people in the state, even kids that were underprivileged that wouldn't normally get the arts. One of my young ladies in this book, Allie B. Gorey, teaches them tap, and that they can learn. And some of them are legally blind, and she said that they could walk through their fears to find new confidence on how to be who they wanted to be. That's pretty cool.
And Ali, she's a great singer. Right?
Yes.
She sings on Broadway.
Yeah, she's a Carole King kind of singer, so you know she's got that Grammy thing waiting on her.
I heard on her. Yes, yeah, she has a beautiful voice.
And her soul, she might not can see, you might be a blur. Because I make comments there, I say, that is so blurry, I can't see that. And she'd say, well, welcome to my world. And of course, with ministry, Sheila Irwin, a lot of you out there will know the name Irwin. Her 2 sons, Andy and John, had the kingdom stories, and they have done I Can Only Imagine, Unsung Heroes, many. They're going to have a new Christmas film out this year, but they are Alabama boys that have gone to Tennessee and have a place here in Studio City in Los Angeles, that they have telling stories that are of faith and based on true stories, but that make a difference of how people have found ways through hanging on to their faith that think, well, this is never going to happen. But God's timing's perfect.
Yes, and miracles happen.
And miracles happen for all of us. So many wonderful women throughout this. I just am using the names. There are over 60 women's stories here, so it's hard to get. But here's another one of philanthropy of Ellen Potts, a friend of mine. Her husband is a neurologist that works with the veterans in the South, and Ellen does a lot, about the football. Okay, University of Alabama, Roll Tide. Is that Nick Saban, the coach, just retired. Everybody knows how fabulous he was and is in different ways. But he helps her with, sometimes they donate funds for the Habitat Humanity to build homes for people that need to have a home that would not normally have a home. This for our veterans or people in the community that could have lost a home across the country through weather, devastation of the weather of, that can happen if it's a hurricane, if it's a tornado, these kind of things that happen. And I know that also with Terry Thomas, a dear friend of mine, she happens to be my son Link's godmother, but her father founded St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. Her story of their whole family, of Marlo is the face, and Tony Thomas, you know that name from being one of the writers for the Golden Girls. It's out
Wow.
And so with their father doing Make Room for Daddy and using his gifts as a comedian and his resources and finding, just I encourage everyone to build those healthy relationships. But, that's what helps to build extraordinary places that can make a difference. And there's a lot of stories out there. If anybody's interested, they can go to ediehand.com and log on and nominate someone.
Thank you. Yes. And how do you think how different would they feel by reading the story? What do you hope the readers would feel after reading all the stories and hearing the stories that you just...
Well, I feel like women would feel they're not alone, and that they can find pieces of themselves in stories.
Beautiful, find pieces of themselves. I like that. That's beautiful. So, Edie, that's a question I would love to ask, because so many women, they're going to watch us and they want to know the wisdom. You have wisdom, experience. You've seen, you met a lot of incredible women. What would you say to a woman like me or Victoria, or what would be the main advice, the top tips for women to, for their career, for whether, not just career, the life in general, whether it's love life, career, what keeps you going?
I am very seasoned, but I think I learned from strong women is along my journey, and I use this with my pearls of hope, was finding I compare life to a pearl that's inside of an oyster shell. It takes a speck of grit to form a beautiful pearl, and it's only formed through irritations. And in life, we go through all these irritations to help us become who we want to be. And one of the tools I've used is building healthy relationships. Relationships are powerful. They can make or break a marriage. They can make or break a career. And they can make or break a community. And that building those relationships are very important. I also say understanding acts of kindness and love. Very important, that we need it more in our culture today.
That's
and
true.
So many of us find ourselves misunderstood at different times. And I am a solution finder.
That's true.
and I believe that I have learned through the corporate world, through individuals, if you're making a record, if you're writing a book, if you're publishing a magazine, if you're building your dreams through being an entrepreneur, is that another thing that's very important is finding your right partner. I can tell you, I mean, I have strong faith. My best partner has been God. But there are people in my circle. I am so blessed to have a handful now. My circle's smaller as I've gotten more seasoned. And those people give me lifts when I need it. We all have to have someone around us to encourage us and be an encourager.
That's true.
I feel one of my gifts from God is that I'm an encourager. And I am an encourager because I tell women's stories through magazines, through books, through television. And I want to do an audio book of some of the women of True Grit. I think that people hearing it helps you too. And another great tool that I've learned through navigate through life is pearls of hope of how to meditate. And in meditating, I try to do it early in the morning before the world gets me.
Yes, meditate and pray.
Yes. And it's so important, I think, that some of those top skills of that, and is being a leader, if you're in a leadership role, of what I have found is being a really good listener. And because our communication is everything. We might see things, you and I could be on the same subject and see it through different lenses.
That's true.
And then how do you get from that
interpretation
to collaborate?
Yes.
But if you have really good relationships, you can take that different views and turn that collaboration into a solution where everybody wins. That's fine.
Everybody has to be aligned.
That's right.
Then everybody wins.
That's right.
That's great advice. She's an encourager. She likes to pump up the life of people too. So encourage her. Thank you, Edie. Before we leave, I would like to ask you a last question.
Oh,
I think the readers would love to know. Guess what? This woman, guess who is she related to? A family, somebody very famous of the famous. And it is Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. And she wrote a book called Genuine. Can you read?
That's okay. Genuine Elvis.
Thank you.
And you know what?
Genuine Elvis.
And look who I wrote it with. That is Ronnie McDowell.
Edie Hand and Joe Meadow.
Yeah, Joe Meadow. And Joe is now in heaven. But Ronnie is still one of the voices of Elvis. Priscilla handpicked him to be the voice for Graceland after Elvis passed away. And Ronnie and I had talked about doing something together because we'd been friends for over 25 years through the great Buddy Killen. And Buddy Killen is a famous songwriter and publisher in Nashville, Tennessee. And he published Elvis's Heartbreak Hotel. And he also at that time Ronnie McDowell was one of his writers and publishers. And they worked with Mike Curb, who is very famous. He was the Attorney General here in California at one time back in his younger years. And they have the Curb Center at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee. He is a famous record label, Curb Records, one of the best known in the world. And because of him, and he endorsed this book, he bought the Audubon House in Memphis, Tennessee, which was Elvis's first home before he bought Graceland.
Oh.
And so the Audubon House is where we did a big interview together. Mike was there. That was when most of the Jordanaires were still living. They were there. And we had Bill Medley of the Righteous Brothers was there. And it was an incredible time. And we signed those books over at Graceland. We got to take a bus load with us to give a free tour, and I would talk about what it was like. Now, our grandmothers were related, so I got to spend a lot of time growing up in my teenage years.
So your grandmothers were sisters?
Yes, and they dipped snuff, which a lot of you might not know what that is, but they had, Elvis gave them aprons, and they had their little pockets on them. They put their little can of snuff, and we would get black gum toothbrushes from my granddaddy's farm, and then they would open them up, moisten them, and kind of put them around their mouth. It was hysterical. Elvis thought it was funny. And he'd come into their rooms and lay across the bed, I remember, and just tell stories. And I had the privilege to hang out downstairs. My grandmother and I would stay in the blue room downstairs, and we'd have fabulous family breakfasts in the mornings. And Jenny, I remember Miss Jenkins, that's right. It's been a long time ago. So that cooked breakfast. And I learned firsthand from Elvis Presley the gift of paying life forward. I mean, I came from strong women, my mom, my grandmother, my aunts that were like second moms to me. And from the music business, of being around uncles that were incredible singer-songwriters, and my cousins that are still today. This generation is going on, even to my son of being a great actor. And I have the others that are great musicians, that are country western singers. You know, Elvis Presley showed me that by giving his yacht when I was young and around that to St. Jude to raise money for these kids with cancer, but so their families could be taken care of too. And I thought, wow, when I grow up, I'd like to be able to give back. And I have been blessed.
You've been blessed
to be able to do that.
Yes.
And I see that. And here I am now, a very seasoned woman. And, you know, getting to know you has been a great pleasure for me, and to see your genuineness and how that you and Michael treat my daughter-in-law.
Yes.
And
we love
it matters, you know. And that's what I'm saying, is that if you see someone that has a talent that needs a hand up, give it to them. Yeah. Sometimes it's in words, sometimes it's in actions, and sometimes
encouragement.
The encouragement is in different forms. You know, we all have a light bill and we all need money in life, but there is nothing greater than acts of kindness to one another.
Yes. Like, share, watch the videos, and, you know, say something nice.
Yes.
Sometimes it changes the life of somebody. You never know. You never.
Or not to take their life. You know what I'm saying? The world is filled with people that think they can't go on.
Yes.
And if you know someone that's hurting, tell them all the good things that they are and what they do, because life is too short. So
great advice.
Yeah. So I know that it's coming up in August is the anniversary of Elvis's death. And I actually had a call today from my friend Ronnie McDowell. I haven't called him back. Some of these girls out there be going, what is wrong with you? But I'm here. That's why I couldn't do it all. I had to get ready and go see some of Lincoln Victoria's friends. But I love all of these men and these people that are still remembering Elvis in such beautiful ways. There are a lot of people around this.
Oh, we will come with Popular Magazine team. Will come to Graceland. Oh, yeah. And we will film everything and listen to all the stories. You'll be a personal guy or photo guy.
Yeah, I have to meet you there.
And we'll show you and beautiful videos. We got to do that.
Yes.
Especially for the anniversary. So
yes,
I have no choice. I have to go to Graceland.
Well, it's an experience you will never forget.
True. So thank you so much, Edie Hand, a wonderful woman, who motivate women, who pump up the life of women. She's a woman of true grit. She wrote a book and gave us more than 60 stories of inspiring women who've been through a lot, but they conquered. They're victorious now because they tell the story in here. So if you need encouragement, please read the story because it will show you that you're not alone. All of us, we go through hell, tribulation, tribulation. But at the end, if you believe it, you stick to it, you believe in yourself, you see the light.
Right. And I hope that they will keep supporting you and your efforts of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep it up because it matters to support one another. And even if it's, it doesn't take that much time to say, hey, I want to buy a magazine or I want to hear more of this story. And it's a part of good synergy.
That's true. Thank you so much. This is so nice. So follow us, Pump It Up Magazine, everywhere, and subscribe to our newsletter at www.pumpitupmagazine.com. And of course, Edie Hand, EDIEHAND, hand.com.
Thank you.
Your book, Women of True Grit. Voilà.